what was that moment of realization, that first moment of realization, when you felt that there is something fundamentally broken in our education system?
When we design the aviation systems, we make sure that human is always the center, okay, at the center, and the systems are designed according to human limitations.
What if the biggest problem in education today is not the curriculum, but the lack of connection? My guest today, with over 25 years of experience, is rethinking PTMs, the parent teacher meet, by placing the child at the center of the conversation through STMs, the student teacher meet. She's on a mission to transform education by bringing the human connection back to its core. Please welcome Miss Astha Gill, who is also a national mentor under NCTE, which is the National Council for Teacher Education with Ministry of Education. Thank you so much, Astha, for taking out your prestigious time and agreeing to do this podcast with us today.
Thank you, Ruchika. It's a pleasure to be with you here. And STM is very close to my heart. So I'm always ready to speak about it. The more it reaches the masses, the better it is for all of us.
Yeah, and we are also very curious to deep dive into this very offbeat concept called STM. But before I go there, I would like to start by asking you, what was that moment of realization, that first moment of realization, when you felt that there is something fundamentally broken in our education system?
See, I have been with aviation for many, many years. Okay, so almost 25 years. And I've been taking care of the human factors uh, department there. Okay, and that has been primarily my domain. Now, what I've realized is that when I started my master's in education, I realized that humans are same, be it in aviation or in schools. And they have the same fears, same anxiety levels, same kind of pressure. So we go through same because, we're dealing with humans everywhere. However, when we design the aviation systems, we make sure that human is always the center, okay, at the center, and the systems are designed according to human limitations. But we failed to do that in schooling. So while I was doing my master's in education, like I mentioned, I realized that children don't get those kind of systems that we have in the aviation industry. And it's only when the crash has happened, we start blaming the student for poor performance, So the crashes happen at both places, okay, be it aviation or at schools. The whole system collapses of a particular student when he is unable to meet the standards expected from them. Okay? And that's where the things I felt were there was a major gap. The student crashes and then we just blame the student, and that childhood trauma, the schooling trauma, remains with the child forever. And that's when I started my research and I started writing my research on student teacher meet. And of course, there was a lot of work required at that time, so I started working on that. Of course, there were many episodes also which led to a complete understanding of what student teacher meet is and why is it required at schools. So there were numerous episodes, numerous incidents where I had conversation with students and I realized that they really need someone who can listen to them and give them the attention that is missing totally.
So, why are schools failing at connection? Are schools these days designed more for test and evaluation rather than skills and learning? Where exactly is this student-teacher relationship is falling apart?
Schools are into academic auditioning. I'm sure you'll agree to it. You know, so they are report card factories, and schools don't function without the examination pattern. They don't function without judging the student's IQ. And I'm sure no one would disagree on what I've just said. So even if they get offended on something like, we are not into academic auditioning, I'm sorry, but that's the truth, and we all have to accept it. Okay, so see, that's one major gap that's happening, because if you are always focusing on IQ levels of students and you're not focusing on their emotional intelligence, on their curiosity, on their raising hands for, damn, I want to know this, and you're just telling them, I'll tell you later, don't disturb my class. So that curiosity is not taken care of. Adversity quotient is never addressed, not making them prepared for failures. So if a failure happens, I'm sure you've gone through it, all of us have gone through it, that if you've scored less in a particular test, you would have a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, because there would be people who are going to judge you because of that score. So this is where schools are drastically failing, because they have not realized that there is no connection between the student and the teacher. We are not teaching them emotional intelligence. Neither the teachers are emotionally intelligent enough, nor the students are. So we need to change the whole ecosystem. We need to make sure that it starts from the stakeholders, where they develop that sense of emotional intelligence and start connecting with the students and pass it on to the students. How many times were you taught in your school that ask your fellow friend, how is he feeling today? Or how many times children actually interact with each other when the other child is crying, when there's someone in the class who's being laughed at? Are we teaching our children to give emotional support to each other? No. They pass out from school. Actually, you know what? Most of us have just, I have to go through school. I have to get through school. But they're not growing through school. So that's something that is majorly missing.
That's very well said and very well put. In fact, success, as we are realizing, is not equal to just a career, job, or money, but it is also a sum of your relationships and your social and your overall well being. I
Absolutely.
guess we are doing well academically and perhaps later on in our jobs and careers too. But where we are failing big time is in our connections, our personal relationships, as well as our mental health and overall well being.
Absolutely.
So, how do you think that, schools are unintentionally hampering the emotional and psychological well being of students because of this current ecosystem?
Um, can I give an example here?
Yeah, please.
You are socially connected to a lot of people, right? Through various mediums, of course, through this wonderful channel, Herd Mentality, which is doing a great job.
Thank
And besides this, you must be on many WhatsApp groups as well, Instagram,
you.
Facebook,
Right.
or whatever, right? Now, if you actually count, there might be thousands of people on those groups. And randomly, once in a while, people must be texting on those groups. Or maybe you are sending a good morning message, thinking that you have wished good morning to 100 odd people on that particular group. But do you know them personally? Are you actually chatting with them personally? No. You are not doing that on regular basis, maybe just with one or two people, but not those hundreds. And that's where schools, this is the kind of functioning the schools have. So, for example, I'm a teacher. I enter the class. I have about 40 students in my class. In some schools, we have even more. Now, these 40 students, I come and I'm a very friendly, progressive teacher, and I strongly believe in holistic development. Okay, so I'm like, hello, everybody. I'm your teacher. We are going to have fun. And I'm teaching in a very fun and friendly way. Bingo, very good. You're doing your best. You're trying to create a vibe in the class, which the students are looking forward to. However, friendliness is there, but are you actually having that one-on-one connect with the student? No. You're not spending time with every individual student, which is a must. Students don't have a voice right now in the present schooling system. They don't have a voice. They are listening to the teacher. They are behaving like whatever the teacher is doing. If she's in a good mood, children have to be in good mood. If she's in a bad mood, children have to sit quietly. But they are not getting that one-to-one time to connect with their teacher. There are some quiet students in the class, which the teacher thinks very disciplined children. Okay, there are some notorious children. Of course, they're tagged notorious, but they are the ones who need attention from the teacher. She's not giving attention, so they are doing some naughty things. And there are some who are just raising their hand again and again because they want to answer questions. Again, attention seekers. Okay? So all of this is happening, but the teacher is giving them very judgmental tags. When the PTM happens, she would do the same. Most of the times, they would not even know the name of the student that they are talking about. So they would confirm from the parent. Oh, you are Arav's parents. Arav, right? The Arav 2. So that's how they usually address the students, and they hardly know anything about the student, unfortunately. So that one-to-one interaction is important, because when I sit with my student, when I sit with Arav, there's lots that he's going to share with me in a separate, confined space, which he's not going to do when he's in class.
One conversation between student and teacher can change everything.
Yes.
So, what exactly is this extremely contrarian concept of student-teacher meet that you have coined, and you are totally reimagining how the parent-teacher meets should convert into the student-teacher meets? So, how is it different from our traditional PTMs?
In PTMs, there are parents, teacher, student. Sometimes students are also sitting. The progressive schooling has started with the concept where the student sits. The student-led PTMs have started where the student is talking to the parents and telling them, I do this at school and I do that at school. However, now there are two sets of people actually judging the child. Okay? The child is getting to speak, but whatever he's supposed to speak is actually scripted. He's not getting to speak his heart out. So irrespective of the change or style in the PTMs, the problem is still there. There are cases of self-harm, dropout cases, actual suicide cases, and mental health issues only increasing. There's no decrease in them, irrespective of us having counselors at schools. With the new rule, where they want to have 2 counselors at schools, you have 10 counselors, it's still not going to sort out the issue. We have helpline numbers where students connect and talk. Okay, good initiative. However, this is just not enough. If I want support from someone with whom I'm spending 1/3 of my day, no one else can cover up that support. 1/3 of my day is spent at school with my teachers. And I want that support coming from that individual whom I idolize. They are standing in front of me, they are instructing me, they are teaching me. There's lots that I admire about them, and I want a few minutes from them, not from anyone else. So that's what we want. We want the child to have that connect. PTMs have failed because there is only gossip, there is discussion. Even if there are good things being spoken, even worse. I'll tell you why. Because if both of us are talking a lot about us, oh, she's doing very good, and next time I'm sure she's going to do even better, there's a lot of performance pressure now on the child. Now he's answerable to both because they both are discussing only the child's performance. That's the problem. There's only performance that's discussed. And even if we are discussing about the child's interests and everything, still, maybe the child needs that space. I think I should correct myself. It's not maybe. For sure, the child needs that separate space with He has enough separate space, private space with parents at home. It is also required with the teacher at school. Now, now you might be wondering, how is it going to be taken care of? How is STM possible? If I have 4 or 3 annual PTMs in a year, I should reduce that number and I should actually schedule 2 to 3 STMs in a year with my student, with every individual student. It has to be a part of my calendar. Actually, when I wrote the book, when I started my research, on STMs, and there was a lot that gave me sleepless nights. Do's and don'ts and safety issues, and a lot had to be thought about. So I used to wake up in the morning with something different that I wanted in the STMs, because I knew people would question, how is this going to be managed? How that is going to be managed? What about the child's safety? What about time management? So there were so many things, all the ifs and buts. I used to list them every day and start working on them. Then we started experimenting in schools and we realized that, of course, what can be done better. And finally, when I wrote the book, Student Teacher Meet, I came up with all that can actually go wrong if we are not following the right process. So it's very important to have the right system in place. Not everyone can just stand and say that, okay, I've started implementing STMs in school without knowing the exact process. Otherwise, you'll end up doing a lot of mistakes. You might not do good to the students. You might, do harm to them if you're not following the right process.
So if you can give us a sneak peek
Hmm.
into what happens inside an STM that makes it so powerful.
So it's a part of your calendar. For example, now the new session has begun. 1st April. Ideally, schools should have it as a 1st April or maybe 2nd or 3rd April as STM days. Schedule it. Send a form. There's a pre-STM form. Students have to fill that form, which has very basic information about the child. The teacher goes through the forms and she gets to know a little about the child. She is new to the class and she might not be knowing all those students who are present in her class. Now, the STM schedule is there. She gets about 15 minutes with every student. One by one. There's going to be an appointment thing kind of thing. She has the form in front of her. She also has an STM form which is to be filled while the STM is going on, or maybe after the STM is done. So now she is going to start having a conversation based on what is being filled in the pre-STM form. And she starts having a very light-hearted conversation because it's like breaking the ice. Okay, so I'm new to you. I've never taught you before. I would like to know a little about you, and I'm going to be your science teacher and also your class teacher. So how do you think the year is going to be? So such questions are there in the STM form. Questions are listed. Why are they listed? Because we know educators might end up asking a lot of insensitive questions. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want the shell to be broken without the child's permission. So the child starts answering and starts getting comfortable with the teacher. We also have confined spaces designed, how far the teacher is going to sit from the student. And, so all of that is also there. There's a proper structure that needs to be followed. So we do give enough space to the educator, but that space is based on the training that the educator gets. So the system for student-teacher meet has to be followed after the educator is trained on human factors, which is the base of this tool. STM is actually a tool, Ruchika. So this tool is going to be used when the teachers are trained how to conduct STMs at school. Now she's going to have conversation with the student, and the student might end up sharing some information which is very sensitive and the teacher must know. And after she knows it, she fills in the form and she discusses with a task force which the school is going to have to address different kind of issues. The information is kept private till the time it's not something really serious or if it's not a grave issue. But if it is something that needs attention from the counselor or from the task force that handles some very sensitive issues, she would take it up with the task force. And post-STM form is where the student gives feedback about how the child felt while the STM was conducted. So there are 3 forms that the teachers fill in. They keep the file with them all throughout the year, and it can be passed on if required to the next teacher. Depends. But the information is not even shared with the parents. It stays only with the teacher. So that's also something that we have to teach the educators. Yeah? That your students' information has to be kept with you and not shared with anyone else.
So, why would a school be motivated to implement an STM rather than PTM? Because at the end of the day, parents will demand for a meeting with the teachers as well. And therefore, what changes would a school observe if they embrace STM instead of PTM, or will it have to be some sort of a combination and a blend of the two?
Combination would be there because PTMs are here to stay. They've always been a part of the system. So it is here to stay. And yes, I somehow feel that parents would like to know what's happening at school, because if we just leave it totally on the child, that also somewhere down the line becomes difficult, because parents are spending a lot of money on their child's schooling, and to have informed parents is also a very important thing. It's important for them to know what's happening at school. So I think one PTM would be important. And if there is anything else, then of course there's a mailing system, and nowadays they also have WhatsApp systems, and they can also take an appointment if they want to speak to the teacher regarding something. How STMs dominate the whole system now is by bringing a drastic change in how the student starts behaving at school, how the teacher starts behaving with every student in her class. When you conduct an STM, and after that, when you conduct a PTM, you're going to tell the parent, I know what your child is, you don't have to tell me. Okay? I know what his apprehensions are, I know what his anxiety is, I know where he can do better, or what they can do better, so everything the teacher already knows about the child. So what is left for us to discuss? Ask Parents have to ask. If they have a doubt, they can ask the teacher. However, teacher already knows the student already knows the teacher, and they've already decided everything about how the year is going to go. And it's not through one STM. There's one that's happening on 1st or 2nd April. There's one that's happening after the first term exams, and there's one that's happening after the final exams.
Yeah, totally. I think it is extremely important to give an emotionally safe space to children in school. I mean, school should be their emotionally safe space. It should be a
Yes.
home away from home, if I can put it that ways. And that is imperative to raise an emotionally resilient child. Now coming to the practicalities, of this whole, very, very, what do I say, like a very offbeat concept of an STM. Your mission is to bridge the gap between the policy and practice, right? By using NEP as a guideline with practical training.
Hmm.
So, what is the biggest gap that you see between the policy and the practice?
The way NEP 2020 has designed holistic
Hmm.
development of the child, it's wonderful. We have it
Hmm.
on paper. It's not failing on paper.
Hmm.
The entire system that they have designed is failed because of the mindset, the traditional mindset that we have in schools. It's also failing because that teacher student connect is now outsourced. Teachers are focusing on finishing of the syllabus, doing their admin work, and doing a lot of other tasks that have been assigned to them. They're focusing on the subject because they know if the score is not good, things would not fall in place.
Yeah, they would
They
be looked
are
down upon, like, as if the teacher is not doing her job well.
true.
Mm,
So they are focusing on that.
yeah.
However, they fail to understand there's a mindset issue here. If you
Mm,
have a good connect with your student, the student starts trusting you more. When the student is trusting you more, the student starts performing better. Okay? And you won't have to focus more on what you're teaching. You'll have to focus on how you're teaching, and
mm.
things would become very smooth.
So you feel that the teacher training programs that are happening
Mhm.
right now, they are not efficient enough because they definitely fail to have that impact in the real classroom setup.
Yes, to quite an extent. I'll be brutally, uh, yes, honest here because
So what is that biggest gap that you see today?
if we're not teaching emotional connect, we we fail as teachers trainers. We have to teach how to connect with your students and how to understand human behavior. You're not dealing with syllabus alone, you're dealing with humans. That's something that our educators have to understand. You're dealing with humans, each one having an individuality which should not be diminished. This is one, as an educator, this is the biggest role that you have. You do not have to diminish the individuality of your students. Let them be who they are, but the way you teach them, you should be able to transform them in better humans. So making them a part of the civic society. They must have civic sense, they must have patriotism, they must have a lot of other things that we want our students to have. However, not through lectures, but by having a connect with them, a good connect with them, and that's totally missing. There are very few who actually are able to connect with the students. Again, if you think that you're having a very friendly environment in the class, that's not enough. You have a, there's a misunderstanding that teachers have about themselves. When I enter the class, my children are very happy. That's not enough. Every student has to be happy. If there are five who are not happy, you've failed as an educator. Okay? So you can't say most of the students are scoring well, most of the students are happy. Score. Okay, let's keep the score aside. We are not judging IQ here. And I'm not even talking about IQ. Every child has a different IQ level. Some might be good with languages, some might be good in the field of art, and some with science. So it's not about score at all. Every child is talented in a unique way. What matters is, are they healthy when it comes to their mental health? Do they enjoy the space that you've given to them in the class? That emotional safety, emotional bonding, the urge or the interest to attend school. I want to go to school. I want to spend some time with my teacher. Oh, for 2 months, I'm not going to be at school. I'm going to miss my teacher. I'm going to miss my friends at school. And so all of that is what is needed.
So if you can name one mindset shift that teachers need to make today, what would that be?
That please do not design systems around, do not design the system and expect children to adjust. Design the system around their limitations. So the way you teach, the way you talk, the way you handle them, you have to design all of this according to their limitations, their yeah, I would stick to limitations because every human being has their limitations. So we have to focus on that.
So
Yeah.
what does a good education truly means to you?
Good education.
Hmm. Truly means to
Good
you. Yeah.
good education. There's a major difference between literacy and education. So if we've understood that gap, we already know what good education is, because it's not just about knowing how to read and write, but it's important to know how to comprehend with not just your course material, but to comprehend what's happening around you, your environment, the ecosystem that you're a part of, how to connect, how to face or interact with the environment around you. I think that's education. You must know uh, how to maintain your individuality and also respect, recognize, and accept the individuality of everyone around you. So I think there's lots when it comes to education. We can't just,
Yeah,
term it in one statement.
correct. I agree with you. Now, if there's one thing that a teacher who is listening to a podcast today or a parent listening to a podcast today could do differently, what would you ask them to do? So maybe we can start with the parent first and then with the teacher.
With the parent, I would say, please go and request your school to conduct student teacher meets.
Okay.
Go and request the class teacher to spend about 10 to 15 minutes with your child. One single request that I have from the parents, please go and request your child's school to do it. For a teacher who is presently not trained in the STM process, tomorrow when you go to school, one humble request, pick any one student to begin with. Tell the child, can I have a conversation with you? Talk to the child for about 10-15 minutes. And then I want you to reflect. And I'm sure there's going to be a bag full of reflection. And you would actually feel that in 5 years, what you've not been able to do with the assessment of the child, you've done it in those 5 to 10 minutes. So pick one child, talk to the child, give that space to the child, and you will fall in love with student teacher meets.
Can you share one real life story with us on how this STM changed the trajectory or the journey of a student?
So there was this very intelligent student. I think I should talk about, so I'll talk about this student. Yeah. Very intelligent student, who would probably be pretty happy with PTMs also. STM nahi bhi hai to, that student would be okay with it. However, um now we assume that STM is not required for this child. Okay. So the educator was like, I should do it only with those children who are not performing well. So I said, no,
Mhm.
that's not how STMs work. You have to do it for every single student of your class. No one has to be missed, because there are certain schools who do have a mentor mentee connect, and they have this system in place where they say that, okay, I'm
Yeah.
responsible for 10 students and they can come to me and talk to me whenever they want. But
Mm.
STM is different from that. So I said, no, you're going to schedule this child's meeting. Also, you're not going to say that, okay, she's the topper of the class and I don't want to do it. Now this child had the STM, and so what is one thing that you would like to share? The teacher asked, is there any problem that you're facing in the class? Ma'am, when I finish off my work, I think I'm the first one to finish off, and then, in the next 10 minutes, I don't really know what to do, and I get very bored. So now what happened with this child is, what was happening is that he would finish off the work, and then those 10-15 minutes that he had extra, he would either do something that the teacher did not want him to do and he would get scolded, or he would start judging the others, and he started making a mindset that I am the most intelligent
Mm.
student, the others know nothing. And this is actually not good if you have that kind of mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the teacher made a note of it, and she realized that it was very important thing to be addressed. So if the student has finished the task, I have to either give him something else,
Mm.
or I have to make him busy with something else so that he doesn't, start having those thoughts.
Mm.
And it actually brought the change that was needed in the student.
Mm.
And how did we get to know about the change?
Hmm.
from his friends who said that they saw a behavior change in him. They
Hmm.
saw him becoming friendly to the other students because now he was not considering them inferior.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, this is how this whole ecosystem, there's a whole
Yeah.
cycle of events that make us realize that STM is working.
Yeah, absolutely. These kind of deep insights can
Yeah,
only come out when a child is given an emotionally safe environment to speak up their truth without fearing any judgment or without fearing any scolding and reprimanding.
true.
Uh, so what kind of a future are we creating if we don't change how we educate today?
If we don't change, then thanks to AI, we already have it. Children will stop going to school. They have AI teachers who don't judge them. That's self-paced learning. There's homeschooling
Hmm.
that's gaining popularity.
Yes.
And all of this is going to ruin the whole entire education system that we've been creating for many, many years now. So, whatever we come up with, whatever progress and everything that we talk about, it's not going to work for us. It's never going to make the education system successful if we do not bring human factors in the education system. We have to realize we are dealing with humans. There's human to human interaction. And if this one human is unable to connect properly with those little humans that we have, with those fragile and vulnerable minds, if we are letting them crash and then considering them as a case study, sorry, the system is going to collapse very soon. And that future is not very far when children would just deny going to school and forget about children. Actually, parents have started thinking on those lines. I've heard, I was initially when I heard, I was like, really? I used to laugh it off. You don't want to send your child to school? And they've said, no, we don't want to send our child to school. It's not, it is of no help. It is just demotivating my child every day. And I have gone through schooling trauma. I don't want my child to go through that.
Yeah,
So,
I resonate with that.
mm,
Most of the parents who send their children to school are also not very happy about the things that are panning out for their child in school.
yes.
They're always skeptical about, the school environment and how it is shaping their child's personality.
Yes. And we are restricting their talent, which shouldn't be done. And of course, not giving them the emotional space that they need. So
Yeah.
I would stick to emotional space. I'm not going to talk about talent and everything because everything falls in place once they are given the emotional space that they need. If they're feeling safe, like if you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of need, safety. So safety is a big priority. So after food, shelter, water, oxygen, safety
Yeah.
is our priority. So if the child is
Yeah.
not feeling safe at school, what's the use of sending them to school?
Yeah. Because if you're not feeling safe, then you are only existing in the survival mode
Yes,
and you can never thrive if you are only barely surviving.
agree,
So now
100%.
tell us something about your book on STM.
Very close to my
First,
heart.
let us know about the title of the book, and then
Okay.
what was the process of writing, and who is it relevant for?
While I was doing my master's, I started doing research on STMs, like I told
Can you
you,
also tell us your masters in what
in
for the
education.
benefit of our audience?
In education. Yes. So, very different from aviation, right? So,
Yeah.
but I wanted to do it because, see, in aviation, also I was a trainer. So I was in, so that role, you've always been teaching, and I wanted to continue teaching. So, like I said, I have a very weak heart when it comes to children. So for that, to connect more with children, I started my master's in education, and that's when I wrote this research paper. And I'm fond of writing, and I do a lot of nonfiction, mostly nonfiction writing. And like I said, I started writing the book because I felt that it would be easy to connect with people through my book It was my first book, and I felt that as an author, it would be easy to reach the masses. Kalam se Kranti, that's something that I strongly believe in. So I started writing, and the title of the book is STM, Student Teacher Meet. Okay, and it aims to revolutionize the education system worldwide. I started with this thought that I'm going to revolutionize the whole ecosystem with by providing emotional safety to students. So when I started writing, of course, there's lots about human factors, a lot of principles of human factors. What are the basic ways to understand a child? When a child is not coming with lunch at school, what could be the reason behind it? When a child is consistently reporting late, it's not that we have to punish the child, we have to understand what is the reason behind it. If a child is sleeping in the class, we need to understand what's happening at home. Why is the child sleeping? Even if he sleeps for 2 days, we need to figure out the reason why hasn't he got proper sleep. So these are some very basic reasons. If a child is sitting alone, doing his work without interacting with anyone, we need to figure out what is the reason. If a child is disturbing everyone in the class, okay, please, he's just not notorious. There is some reason why he's doing it. He doesn't get attention at home. His mother is busy with his sibling and he doesn't get attention. So probably he wants attention from the school. So there are numerous reasons that that make the child what they are, and that's how I started writing. And I started writing a lot of things that what we need to understand about the child, and I tried using the principles of human factors. So
No, I mean, this is such a transformational, a transformational concept, and it definitely needs, it deserves that recognition. It deserves that, wholehearted implementation in schools if we really want to raise a generation that can take care of itself, that can respect themselves as well as people around them.
yes.
So, my last and final question to you is, you are doing some really path breaking work. Like this STM is absolutely a path breaking, groundbreaking work, extremely transformational. And I'm sure, the journey has not been smooth sailing. So, what keeps you motivated to keep going, to keep on pushing yourself in such a large, deeply ingrained system?
Children. I think it's children. I have two daughters, and I
How
of
old are
course.
they?
Oh, one is at college now, and the other one is a seventh grader from today.
Okay,
So
nice.
yes, so I think it's children. It's a lot to do with personal experiences at school. It's a
Mm,
lot to do with when I spend a lot of time with children. Okay, not just my own, but also,
mm,
if I'm at a park and if I see some children, I would love to spend time with them. I love talking to children. And
mm.
I just feel that we are very unfair, and we really need to, a lot of people might say that there's so much confidence in children nowadays. How can you say that,
Yeah,
they don't get space
so
to voice
true.
their opinion? And
Correct.
some would even say that they are overconfident, and
Hmm.
and they don't behave
Absolutely.
and all of that. That's because some of them are doing it because they are in a rebel mode. They want to do it, and they've got the space, yes. But how about many others who haven't? And here, my concern is every single student. It's not just very few who are overconfident and bullying. We need to take care of them also through STMs. So we are not just taking care of the ones who are not speaking, we are also taking care of the ones who are probably speaking, which is not correct. So if they're using incorrect language, if they are not behaving as per how civic sense has to be maintained. If that's not happening, that's also lack of connection with them. Talk to them. If they're disrespecting their educators, which many are,
Yeah,
so many students don't know how to, they mock about their teachers, they make fun.
correct.
Again, that's because they're not spending time with their teachers. So give
Hmm.
them that space, tell them who you are, okay, and
Yeah,
learn about them. And then there's going to be a lot of respect that comes from both ends.
correct.
Mm.
I think, that overconfidence that you talked about
Mm.
is sometimes misleading. They are overconfident on the outside, but on the inside, something totally different is happening. They are they are
Insecurities.
they are insecure, they are fearful, and it is
Yes,
manifesting as, overconfidence in
true.
a rebellious way.
Absolutely correct. And that's what can be figured out if you are talking to them in a
Correct.
defined space.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think the schools have outsourced that part to counselors largely. Now
Mm.
we have behavioral counselors, also
Mm.
career counselors in schools.
Mm.
Um, and the subject teachers are outsourcing that to, this kind of a cell, wherein you have these counselors on board.
Mm.
But what I take away from you in this podcast today is that that is not enough, because a subject teacher meets the child on a daily basis, and a connect with your subject teacher is paramount, is
Yes.
non-negotiable, and it
Yes.
cannot be just handed over to a counselor who does not understand what exactly is happening in the classroom. So it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Astha.
Same here.
Really an eye-opener conversation. It was an unheard uh, concept for me, an STM. I mean, it has enlightened me so much, and I am so much in sync with the need for an STM, an absolute imperative need for an STM. And really, it's high time we phased out PTMs and gave STM the importance it deserves. And I really wish you all the best in your journey ahead, that you are able to scale it up. And sooner than later, we see STMs happening across India, at least. Let me just speak of India, across India.
Yes.
And, and we are able to contribute in whatever little bit we can in raising a generation who is anyway struggling so much because of the advent of social media, AI, and this technology, which is just taking them by a storm. Thank you so much once again for
Thank
taking
you,
out your
Ruchika.
time, Astha.